It's a great privilege to welcome Emma this morning, and I'm going to be chatting to Emma about Message Wales, and in particular about the role that she plays with Message Wales in going into prisons. And so, Emma, welcome, and thanks for joining me. Listen, introduce yourself, if you would, just so that people get a sense of who you are, what you're based, etc. And then also give us a little bit of the vision of Message Wales, would you, so that we understand what Message Wales is to start with before we have a closer look, if you like, on your ministry. So, Emma, introduce yourself.
Amazing. So I'm Emma, and I currently live in Cardiff. So I've been living in Cardiff for about 18 months now, but I am a Welsh girl from birth. I used to live in mid Wales, and then I got married, moved to Cardiff, married to the wonderful Elliot, and we have a dog called Monty, and so we're based down here now. And loving life, involved in church here, involved in two churches, an English church and a Welsh church as well. And I am learning Welsh, so doing Dysgu Cymraeg, especially because my husband Elliot is fluent in Welsh. So trying that out. The message. So that's who I work for. So the message, it started in Manchester. It was the heart and the vision of a man called Andy Hawthorne. Many people have heard of the message. They might know the Worldwide Message Tribe, which it originated. And Andy's heart was just to reach the least, the last, and the lost for Jesus. So everything that the message does is gospel central. It is sharing the gospel with mostly, predominantly at the start, it was with young people, with teenagers. So it was through schools work, through youth clubs, education through that. And then as the ministry itself has grown over the last 30 plus years, it's got many arms actually. It does a project called the Eden Project, which is where people feel called to go out into a community and just live in that community. And then a church is birthed in that as well. So very much happens in Wythenshawe up in Manchester. But there's lots of pockets all across the UK and now worldwide that are doing that. And then community groceries came from that, especially during COVID time. They saw that there was so much poverty, when people, they actually were starving, or going without so they could feed their kids. And so they created these community groceries where people pay a little bit of money and then can go and do a bit of a shop from that. And then they still do so much youth work and going into schools. They've had recently, we had one here in Wales actually called the No More Knives Tour, because they were seeing there was a lot of knife crime around. So they've done that. And then, they've got a bus. Honestly, there's so much. They've got a bus that goes around. It's like a youth club on wheels. And then, like I said, it's all across now. They're in different countries like Brazil, in the Netherlands, in Germany. And then we're here in Wales as well. And then obviously the one thing I didn't say, but I know we're going to lead on to that, is another arm is the prisons ministry stuff that I have the absolute honor and privilege to be involved with.
Brilliant. Brilliant. So before I go on to ask you about that, all those ministries that you were talking about with regard to the message, do all of those take place in Wales as well, or are you sort of building it up in Wales?
Right. Yes, building it up. So we haven't got currently an Eden team who are, like I said, in the community building church. That's the real heart of Matt Walls is the hub leader for Wales, and along with Gary Smith, and they really were looking at that. We've got a community grocery opening though in Swansea direction, so that's very exciting because that will be the first community groceries that we've had here in Wales.
Brilliant.
So there's a lot, so much heart, so much vision, and it's just getting it out there. So
I'm familiar with community groceries, okay, but we're not going to go in that direction.
Yeah,
Okay,
no.
because that is a sort of, that's a video cast in itself, really.
Mm,
The heart
absolutely.
of that, and but maybe that's for another day, maybe. But let's look at the prison work, because
Yes.
am I right to think that you head up the prison work here in Wales? Are you the
Yes. Well, so I have a colleague as well. So both of us are the kind of the prison, with the prison outreach workers for
okay?
down here in South Wales. So I'm in Cardiff prison, and he's in another local prison as well. So we
Okay,
both work together because there's four prisons down here in South Wales. So we're currently over the two. So.
lovely, lovely. So tell us what you do. What does prison ministry involve?
Yeah, of course.
And importantly as well, tell us why you do it. So what do you do and why do you do it?
Yeah,
Okay.
brilliant. So part of my role is I'm in prison 3 days of the week, and in those 3 days, I get to go in. I work alongside the chaplaincy team that are there. So it's a multi-faith chaplaincy team. But I'm going in as a Christian and supporting the Christians who are there also.
Right.
So in that, I work with a colleague, and we do Christianity Explored is one of the courses where we take those who are interested in faith and explore it with them, and Bible studies as well. And then we've recently run an Alpha course as well in the prison, where we saw 18 men coming through that on a weekly basis. And so there's a lot of seed planting, I would say, a lot of seed planting, and obviously then but getting to kind of bring them through that as well, helping them to learn more about that. So that's one sort of part, the discipleship from the start there. But I do get to work alongside them. So I do a lot of one-to-one work as well. So maybe some of it is those who've not even yet made a commitment to Jesus, but I'm just working with them again, seeding with them, and they've maybe done one-on-one Christianity Explored, or just coming with questions, and I just on a weekly-ish basis while I'm in there just check up on them. There's not it sounds funny. There's not much conversation or real conversation that the men get when they're in prison, because
Yes.
you've obviously got officers who are doing their job, and they are a very friendly bunch, and they will have conversation, but they're there to do a task, to make sure everything is kept in order and to the letter, really. But I get to go in, and I'll ask them about their families. I'll ask them about how they're feeling even, and sometimes that really takes these men back, because they think, wow. And then at the end of a conversation, I've many a times had, it was so nice to just have a proper conversation with someone that isn't about their crime or their history or their past sort of thing of crime. So, which is really nice. And then one of the big parts that I get the real honor of, which is quite rare for a chaplaincy team to do, and that's where the message has that real fit to be able to do this, is that I get to work with men on the other side of the gate as well. So when their release date is coming up, I have the ability to help them find churches and checking it through all the right. They've got a team surrounding them, like probation and workers, and I have to check all that it's okay for them to go, and then work with that church to support them. Or maybe some have gone to rehabs that are in local communities, or even as far as having to go to other ones in England, and I work with them there to support them in their applications, their interviews, and then getting them to those rehabs. And then some housing opportunities as well. We've got a local church that we work with, and they've got a house that we have placed some of the men. So Owain, my colleague, and I have now got currently 3 men are living in this house, but there's a couple more to come. So it's a 5-bedroom house that we're filling with prison leavers.
Gosh.
And so and then I get to this morning I was just checking in on one of them to see how they're doing. So I get to call them up, I get to meet them for coffee, and just help them reintegrate and resettle back into the community. So
how do you find sort of how responsive are men in prison? So it's just men that you deal with, is it?
Yes. So
There's no,
yes. So
there's no women's sort of ministry.
No, exactly. So it's 18 plus in Cardiff that I work with, and yeah, you would be surprised. I would say men are they are responsive, and I would say they are. I've never, you get the odd occasion where someone says, "Oh, no, thank you," but I wear a lanyard around my neck that has chaplaincy on it, and everybody knows that's the chaplaincy colours. So as soon as I come, I don't wear a dog collar. I'm not a vicar or anything. I'm just in my message uniform. And so I'll just always be like, hi, I'm Emma. I'm from the chaplaincy team. And you get those vibes straight away if they want to speak to you or not.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, but generally I'd say they're open, and it might be that they just want to talk about aliens, or they want to tell you something that they've watched on some crazy TV program that's on the prison. But many a times I have conversation and I'll say, "Oh, do you have any faith?" And they might be like, "Oh, I used to go to church a long time ago," and yeah, I'm always surprised how open people can be. But I think what comes is, and it's what my heart is I'm always gone to the scripture of where Jesus, it says that Jesus had compassion on them. And that's always been something for me I've lived by, to see these men as Jesus sees them, to have compassion. And if you come at that, I'm not trying to educate, I'm not trying to get like a commitment from you. I just want to share the gospel in a manner because I have compassion for you, and that is Jesus' compassion. Then I don't know, people seem more perceptive to it. So.
Yeah, and it doesn't surprise me that the men are responsive, because there's a lot of time to reflect, isn't there? Really.
Yes.
And so when a friendly, compassionate face is in front of you, you sort of, you'd want to know more, and you'd want to listen to what that person's got to say. So I'm not surprised that that there is that response. Tell us a little bit about how rewarding is it for you, and what would be the most rewarding part for you?
Yeah, great question. So I have to say, sometimes prison ministry can be quite a thankless job, though.
Sure.
There is reward, but time and time again, it can be quite disheartening, to be honest with you, because, and why I say this, in the prison setting that I work with, we see a lot of repeated loops of men leaving prison and then coming back. And I've been working in this job 18 months now, and I've seen numerous people come in, at least one handful of times, if not two.
Wow.
But what is rewarding is when you've built a relationship with them, in terms of showing that love and care, and genuinely just asking about them and their life. It's like it starts again. And it that shouldn't be a reward, but at least it's kind of, I feel like they're coming back into a place where there's a familiar face. There's somebody who actually shows that authenticity towards them, that they think that they can open up and talk. And so, but there is so much reward when you see men who maybe you've just met, you've opened their cell door, you said hello and introduced yourself and gone through this little list that you have to do when they first enter in. And then you get to journey with them through the weeks or months that they're in prison, and you see the change. Because often you open a cell door and you don't know what sort of person you're going to meet, in terms of, are they okay? Are they could be a bit angry, or are they depressed? And often I've had conversations where you've seen them just beside themselves of why they're there, and feeling really at a low place, to then, as they've settled, as they've maybe they've come to chapel on a Sunday for the Sunday service, maybe they've been involved in Christianity Explored or even a Bible study, and in the next few months you see them almost become, I suppose, who God has intended them to be, but the real them as well, that they're not this either bravado or this kind of negative, depressed person, but actually they see more life about them now. And then you kind of can think, well, I'll let them back out into the world and let God sort them out as they're out there. And if I see them again in a few months' time, well, we'll pick it up from there. But if I don't see them, then, I can at least say I've been part of that journey. If they've made a decision for Jesus or not, then I still know whatever seeds, I truly believe Jesus will water them somewhere along the journey.
And I'm just thinking how, we carry the hope of the gospel.
Yeah.
Okay. And for somebody who doesn't carry the hope of the gospel and just sees that sort of that vicious circle of they do their time, they go out, months later they come back in. They do their time, they go out, months later they come, or years later they come back in. Okay. It must be really quite difficult if you don't carry the hope of the gospel to actually see a break in that cycle.
Yes.
Because, when we carry the hope of the gospel, all it needs is for the person to wake up to the gospel by the grace of God, to wake up to the gospel and start then to break that chain, that circle. So it's a wonderful thing, the gospel, isn't it? Because we carry it not only for ourselves, but we carry it for other people. There's hope for you to break this cycle. So yeah. Would that be a reflection of how you feel about the things that you do? Or
definitely, I that hope of the gospel is. It's what you see people can put their foundations in, where maybe they've tried everything else. We have so many who come in with drug addiction or with failed relationships or have made silly choices because they've not, had the upbringing that can teach them how to react to things. And we think the gospel has all that we need. And then when how Jesus loves them no matter what they've done, no matter where they've been, and nobody is too far gone, that is for them. It's just so beautiful. And then when you see them reading the word and how that impacts their, I should live this way. This is how I should treat other people. This is what family can look like. And you just see them learning. I think there are so many, I want to word this right, but there are so many things that can help people in their journeys, to be free from addiction, to be making better choices. But it is the gospel, it is Jesus Christ and faith that is the ultimate key, I believe, that breaks through anything.
Absolutely.
And even when they get it, they might still, make a bad choice and fall away. But when that seed is deep implanted in that good soil, I truly believe that it can flourish and those decisions are different. So
something that sort of struck me to ask you, and I'm sure that those who are listening to this will want to ask the same question, but I'm going to ask the question. Okay, as a young girl, as a young lady, right, in a men's environment like that, particularly a prison environment with men, I'm sure that's quite challenging for you. What are the big challenges? Is keeping safe one of the biggest challenges, or how would you say, what would you say the greatest challenges to you as a young woman in that environment?
It's a great question, Gwyneth, because everybody, or not everybody, but so many people do ask that. And
good.
I'm
not the first one.
It is good, and automatically people assume when I say I work in prison, they assume I work with women, which is as it is. So number one, I never feel unsafe in prison. I have to say that.
Wow.
There are manners of things that can go on, or things can kick off in prison, but the officers are fantastic at their job. They're always looking out for you, especially because I would be called I I wear my normal clothes, so I'm not in uniform necessarily as in officer uniform. So it's already clear that I'm not an officer. So they're always around. You never open cell doors without letting officers know. They're always on different landings and around. And then I also, we all do who work there carry radios that have an alarm button on, and there's alarms around. So if you ever get yourself into a situation that is unsafe, you've got a way to get yourself kind of alerted to. But yeah, so I always feel safe when I'm walking around or making sure that every safety precaution is in place. You've got to be about yourself. You've got to be thinking, like I said, when you open a cell door, you don't know who you're meeting. I could have somebody who's aggressive behind that door, or somebody who's really, like I said, depressed behind that door. I don't know, but I have to have wisdom about me when I open that door. And I also know I've got God with me when I open that door, which is also, my extra precaution. So I'll get, the odd comment, and you kind of do have to almost let things just go sometimes. And they're just being nice and just want to engage in conversation with a young lady that's come onto the wing.
Yeah.
But I hold myself well, and I'm always, I'm there as a professional. So I have to act in a professional manner as well. So
brilliant.
But yeah, and I try to just remind myself, or remind them even, I'm a woman, but I can be like a sister, not necessarily a mother, because I'm not, that kind of
not old enough,
maternal, not old enough,
yeah.
But, as a sister. And they are generally, if you build relationship and you are kind and nice, then they will look out for you as well. So, if there was any trouble, especially when we have smaller groups, I know that if there's any trouble, say there's a room of 10 people, 9 of those have got my back if that one is going to come. You almost build that. So yeah, so I feel safe.
So that, you've obviously grown respect amongst the 9 that would protect you, really. Because they obviously think highly enough of you to protect you should there be a problem. That's wonderful. And that's a testimony to how you're communicating with them, and what you're giving them. That's lovely. I'm sure there are some good news stories, aren't there? Things that make the job worthwhile, or that you think, oh wow, it's so worth it seeing that. So are you able to, because I appreciate some of the stuff that you're involved in is quite sensitive.
Yes.
Are you able to share
definitely
something that will encourage us as to what God is doing in the prisons that you're visiting?
Definitely. So obviously when I mention any names, the names are changed. So these aren't the names of the people. But I've recently started. So in the prison, there is a drug-free living wing. Basically, there's a small wing on the prison that those men have had kind of addiction problems, and they come to this wing, and they go through a 12-step process, and they I think there's about 25 men potentially on this little wing. And I was meeting with one of them called Daniel, and Daniel he got saved or came to know Jesus through my colleague actually in his prison, and then came back into Cardiff. And so I met Daniel because I'd met him over in the other prison, and we just got chatting, and I said to Daniel, it'd be great. He was on this drug-free living wing, and I said, it'd be great to do a Bible study down here. So we just met together, just him and I, because nobody else was kind of engaging. And for, I'd say it was about a couple of months, it was just him and I meeting, reading through the word. He was so hungry. It was so exciting. And I was just telling him, I can invite people, but it's so much more powerful when he does. And so the one it was a Wednesday. One Wednesday, he invited another prisoner to come, and so then suddenly there was 2 of us, and it was for a couple of weeks just 2 of us. And then Daniel told me that he'd been talking with another guy on that wing, who had been asking questions about God and asking about the Bible. And I said, well, I gave him, we have these cards, and many people may have seen them. They're called the 4 points card. It's not a message thing. It's from, I think it's, yeah, I can't remember, but Junction 42 definitely do them if you know who they are. And it's just basically 4 images that talks about, it's a tract basically.
Yeah, I'm familiar with them. Yeah.
And I said to Daniel, I went through it with him and I said, I want you to go and see that other prisoner and I want you to share this with him. And he was like, okay. He goes, well, can I go get him now and bring him here and do it to make sure that I do it right? Yeah. And I was like, no, Daniel, I want you to do it. It's not about doing it right. It's about when the time's right. And so he's like, okay. So he then, I left, and the next week I came, and as soon as I came on the wing, he was like, Emma, I did it. I shared it with him. And then this other prisoner came into the Bible study. So there's 3 of us.
Brilliant.
Then, so we worked, the 3 of us. Then the next week I was away, but had forgotten to tell Daniel I wasn't going to be there. So I came back the week after. Sorry, it's a bit of a long story, but it is amazing.
That's okay.
I came back the week after and he said, Emma, you weren't here last week. But don't worry, we had our own Bible study and there was 5 of us. So then I was like, what? So then there was this other guy who had come down onto the wing who was a Christian and a real sold out Christian, had led his cellmate to Jesus. So then there was 5 of them. And then as I walked in, I noticed another prisoner who I had come back in, like, unfortunately, in that repeated loop, but I knew Jesus. So he came in. So we've gone from Daniel and I praying and believing for extras to come, just the 2 of us for 2 months, to then there was 6 of these men in this Bible study. And it was powerful, them sharing the gospel with each other. And this is my journey and this is what God's done for me. Oh, I've been reading here. What do you think about this? And I just sat there. I sat back and was just like, you guys do it. I'm facilitating. And it was so beautiful, to just sit there and think, I don't have to do anything. I just leave it to them to lead it and to share with each other. And yeah.
But that's an amazing story, but it's also a sign of a good leader as well, because
thank you.
Yeah, because when a leader can step out of the equation and things carry on, sometimes even better without that, the leader has done their job and they can sort of move on. Not that you were moving on there, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's so much more powerful when a prisoner can lead somebody to Jesus or to share their faith or to lead a Bible study than me, because I'm there, like I said, 3 days of the week, in a small amount of the 24 hours of a day, whereas they're there 24/7 and they're able to facilitate things. And I know, now they're doing Bible studies on that wing without me. I go still on a Wednesday, but they'll tell me they've done one last night before tea and this kind of thing.
Wow.
And it's just great. So so God's on the move.
Yeah, lovely. And they have got the time on their hands, I suppose, haven't they? I appreciate that they've got duties and responsibilities and things, but they've got time on their hands as well. So, and making good use of that time. Exactly. Listen, let me just start to bring this to a close. Okay. How can people, first of all, get in touch with you? And how can people support Message Wales? And just give us a little bit of information about that. What's the best way of contacting you, and what sort of ways can they support you?
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. So you can go on the website. I'm sure we'll put the link, but it's Message Wales. So the Message as a whole have a website, but please go to the Message Wales one. I think it's /Message Wales or something. Well, like I say, we'll put it on.
We'll sort that out. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. It just means you can get the specific stuff to Wales. Then I think it's important. And we have a Facebook page and an Instagram page as well. If you're into social media, that you can follow. There's always updates about everything that's going on from schools work. Number one, prayer. Prayer is the most powerful tool and biggest support that you can give us. Especially for myself and my colleague, as we go in every week into prison, we definitely feel the prayers of people over us, and like I said, keeping us safe, and also praying for these prisoners, these men who are there. Please pray for them in prison and out of prison as well. Those who are coming out of prison and that we're getting the honour to resettle back into communities, please pray for them. And also, you'll see on the website how you can support us financially as well. You can support the message as a whole, or there are specific ways of supporting just prison ministry. If you feel that God calls you to give financially as well, then the information is all there.
Is there anything else that you want to share before we say goodbye? Is there anything burning on your heart that you want people to know? Or
I just think if you have a heart yourselves that you would like to get involved in prison ministry, or maybe something I've said today has provoked, put a little bit of fire in the belly, and you think, oh, that sounds like something I would like to be involved with, then please get in touch, because I and my colleague take volunteers into the chapel services on Sundays. So I regularly take about 10 volunteers in with me, who are just people from local churches. Most of I know them all, but come in, and they come in. Some do some readings, or some are in the band, or share a message, and there's ways of coming in and coming into that environment, which we can kind of facilitate, because you're not going to get into prison any other way, really. But
unless you break the law.
Unless you break the law, which hopefully you won't do that.
But this is the easiest way.
And the best way, where you
can get out.
You can get out, exactly, as long as I haven't left you behind. But if there's anybody that has that, then please get in touch, because I'd love to meet for a coffee, and to just talk about it and see if maybe we could work together as well, or any organisation that who may watch this as well, who is involved in anything with ex-offenders, that can help us resettle people into communities, or church leaders, who say, oh yeah, we feel burdened to have ex-offenders in. Please get in touch. I would love it. It would be very helpful as well.
I get a sense that this will have spoken to a lot of people who've got a heart for prison ministry, and you will get some inquiries, and you'll get some people inquiring about coming in and learning more. So I just get that sense. So lovely.
Brilliant.
Listen, Emma, thank you very much indeed. Okay, and I'm sure that there's a conversation to be had further down the road. It could be about the community grocery, and because that's another amazing work that Message are doing, and especially with the one in Swansea sort of kicking off, starting definitely quite soon. But but for now, Emma, thanks very much. Okay. And hopefully I'll see you soon. Okay.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Thank you, Gwyneth.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.